For the 57th year, nearly 600 passionate amateur racers have gathered to select their national champions under a unique format. One race, winner take all. And for the first time in 7 years, their stage is America's National Park of Speed, Road America. Welcome to the Sports Car Club of America Runoffs, our broadcast presented by Mazda.
Good morning and welcome to day number 3 of Haggerty Race Days at the 57th Annual SCCA National Championship Runoffs here at a cool, brisk Road America in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. I'm Ryan Marine, Tom O'Gorman with me, and Hayward Wagner down on pit lane, part of the cast that will be bringing you the racing throughout the course of this third day of activity here at the National Park of Speed, Road America, one of the fantastic road courses in this country. And Tom, already 2 days down here at the Runoffs, 18 champions crowned, plenty of highlights to think back on, and a busy day yet to come.
Yeah, to paint the picture, this is Haggerty Race Day number 3 after 3 days of qualifying as well as 4 or 5 test days. So a lot of these drivers, a lot of these teams have been here a long time, but today's a little different. As you can see, bundled up, a little chilly, a little breezy, and no sunshine yet today. We've had a week of textbook weather, and it's making today look a little bit different, probably a little bit more like Wisconsin in October.
And as mentioned, Hayward Wagner is down on pit lane. I hope you brought the layers out this morning, Hayward.
Guys, the big news on pit lane is the hot setup today is long pants. All the crew have gone away from the shorts, gone to long pants. We think this is going to be a really long day of long pants. So that's where I can promise you there is not a human on site right now that's sad about wearing a mask. It is definitely chilly down here.
Long pants means a little extra drag for the crews down on pit lane. I think they can put up with that, though, if it means you keep the temps up.
I'm going to need some setup advice from these guys because that sounds great.
Hey, you're going to be down there a little bit later,
yeah,
Tom.
I don't know that I got the right setup I'll put a couple flats in it, maybe lengthen them a bit. But definitely, as you can see, still some fans out. It's great to have people here, and a lot of times the racers are the fans themselves here at the Runoffs. So drivers either hanging out from their races in the past 2 days or waking up a little bit early because we're starting off with a good one. This one's always fun to watch, 2 and 4.
Yeah, we'll preview that a bit more when we get into the dedicated T4 show. But to give you an idea of what's on tap here today, T4, as mentioned, is up first. H Production, our second show of the day. STL and GT2 will follow before the lunch break. Then at 1 o'clock local time, we'll get started again with Formula V, FE2, GTL, and P1 to wrap up the festivities at the Runoffs. And you mentioned the fans in the stands, the fans walking around. It has been a fun atmosphere here this weekend. Wonderful to see the families coming out. My family was out here as well, taking in the sights and sounds earlier in the week. And it just adds to the ambiance. This place in particular, the soul of the place is the race fans that always flock to Road America whenever there are cars on track.
There's Raleigh and Velma Barine from Indianapolis keeping pit lane under control for this entire event, and that's not just family, friends, and spectators, but volunteers and people who put in a lot of time and a lot of effort to keep this event functioning.
Well, you talk about the long week it's been for the drivers and everyone working on the cars, but that's true for the staff from the SCCA. It's true as well for those in the flag stands, the safety crew, everybody who has put in all the work necessary to be a part of and to make sure this event goes off like it has. It takes a great deal of sacrifice, and when it's a cold day like it is today here this morning, that sacrifice is ramped up just a little bit. So we'll see how this one plays out. Really looking forward to day number 3. Quickly, Tom, your highlights. What have you enjoyed most through the first 2 days?
Well, I'm loving just the ebb and flow. These races have been taking different shapes than expected a lot of times because of not only the challenge that the classes are presenting, but the challenge that the track itself presents. And 4 miles, 14 corners, a little bit of everything at Road America, and the drivers are somewhat racing the track as well as racing each other. So even some of the races that maybe haven't had the most passing, maybe haven't had the most door banging, wheel to wheel action, the drivers are still challenged lap after lap, corner after corner. And it's created some different results than we expected and always kept us on the edge of our seats.
Still plenty of exciting action still to come. Thanks so much for joining us throughout the course of the weekend. Our coverage presented by Mazda. There's some Hardy Race fans out there. Thanks for being here. And we'll be starting with our first show, Touring 4, coming your way in just a moment. The 57th SCCA National Championship runoffs roll into day 3 of Hagerty Race Days, and up first is Touring 4. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Road America. My name is Ryan Marine, Tom O'Gorman alongside, and Hayward Wagner down in the pit lane. It's going to be a fascinating race, Tom. You look at the front of this field, the time's pretty close there in the top 4, and it's an interesting mix when you look at the experience of a 15-time champion, John Heinrichsey, mixed with the inexperience but youthful exuberance of Michael Borden, the cover boy for Sports Car Magazine, coming into this weekend, the pick to win. He'll start just behind Heinrichsey for this race in the 3rd position, and that mix of experience and rookie inexperience is exemplified all throughout this grid.
Not just that, but Borden also a hometown hero, so he's got a lot of pressure on his shoulders starting in that 3rd spot. And then when you throw in Chi Ho, who has quite a bit of racing experience, maybe not the most runoff start specifically, and Nick Leveroni, that's going to be the front 2 rows. This race is going to be fascinating, and as you can see, we have Touring 4, very lightly modified production-based race cars, kind of the most entry-level sports cars you can find that have all been produced over the last 15 or so years. So we have the Toyota 86, BMWs, Mazda MX-5, Subaru BRZ, and FRS, Mazda RX-8s. Very entry-level and recognizable sports cars.
It is a fun mix of cars as well, and standing down in pit lane with a great view of our field of 20 cars that is set to take the green here in a matter of minutes is Hayward Wagner.
Morning, guys. It is a chilly morning here on the T4 grid, but there's a lot of excitement in this class. These cars are born out of SCCA showroom stock racing, where cars would come straight from a showroom floor, get some safety equipment, and go racing. T4 has evolved a bit more for some more performance out of these cars. These are real race cars, but they're real race cars that if you had to throw a license plate on them and go to the grocery store to get a quart of ice cream, you could do that. So watch for these cars as things are cool this morning to be a little skatey, take a little bit of time to warm in. But remember, these guys are driving cars that probably feel a lot like your street car. As far as you guys mentioned, nerves, experience, this, that, and the other, John Heinrichsey, as you would expect, sitting in the car, belted in, he's just trying to keep his hands warm. That's really John's focus at the moment. Michael back in the 3rd spot, his goal is to make sure that he stays close. He is 400 pounds lighter than the 2 cars the 2 cars in front of him, and he's hoping that they're going to have tire issues and that he's going to be able to benefit from that as they get through the race. I talked to Chi about his expectations. His last runoffs was at Indy, and he had a first lap incident that took him out of that race. His one and only goal for this runoffs race is to start the 2nd lap. So watch those 3 guys to see those strategies come into play.
Thank you so much, Hayward, down there in pit lane. And yeah, we've got plenty of fascinating storylines amongst that group in the first 2 rows. It is amazing that a guy like John Heinrichsey, with all of his experience and success, almost is flying under the radar a little bit this week, with Borden getting so much of the attention. Cover boy of Sports Car Magazine, as I said, and the pick to win by a lot of the experts coming into this weekend. You don't see a 15-time champion overlooked often, and maybe we've been reminded after qualifying just how good John Heinrichsey can be.
And you're completely right. Even on qualifying days when we were announcing what the results were as the drivers came across the line, we missed that Heinrichsey not only had left the pits late at one point, had started a warm-up lap, and then came across to put a pole time in. We didn't even notice he was on track. So that T4 Phoenix Performance car definitely flying a little bit under the radar throughout the week, but not one to ignore, because that is a standing national champion from 2018 in that very car out at Sonoma Raceway. But he's going to have a lot of pressure behind him from the next 3 cars.
And speaking of pressure, for Michael Borden, making his first runoffs appearance, anytime you're a rookie at an event like this, there is pressure to begin with. But now you come in being labeled the favorite. Can you imagine what he's been dealing with this week with that target on his back, having never experienced the runoffs before?
Sure, it's easy to put the pressure on yourself and feel the pressure from the outside, especially if you're, kind of at your home race, probably has some family and friends here, and making this feel like a bigger deal. And it is a big deal, but I really like what Jesse Prather said yesterday at the grid of his e-production race. He said, it's just another session. And it worked out well for him. He won the championship. So I think the key for Michael Borden and for everybody is to not let the pressure get to your head. Acknowledge that this race is important, but acknowledge that it's also just another race, and you can only do your best.
You might wonder why Borden in his first runoffs is the favorite coming in, and that's because he's been racing against the likes of Nick Leveroni and John Heinrichs throughout the course of the season building up to the runoffs. He's undefeated in Majors Tour and Super Tour competition, in doing this in really just his second full season of racing. His rookie season in the SCCA was 2017. He had to wait a long time to do a full season because he never had the money to contest the full slate, but has been building towards this nice and patiently and has been going for broke effectively here this year. A lot invested in this 2020 campaign, and it has paid off to this point.
But another driver not to forget about is Chi Ho. They're sitting in the second position. As Hayward alluded to, I believe Chi was gridded on the front row and leading the race on lap 1 of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Championship year. I think that was 3 years ago in 2017. And was kind of unceremoniously removed from that race in the first lap and just kind of called it a day. So that's why Hayward says he wants to make it to the second lap, but he genuinely has the ability to win this race, kind of going out on a limb with a little bit of a different car than we've ever seen in T4 with that BMW 320i.
He does have experience getting to the podium at the runoffs. Back in 2016, Chi Ho finished in the second spot at Mid-Ohio. Here is your starting grid for the T4 race in 2020. John Heinrichs, as mentioned, on the tire rack pole, the native of Clarkston, Michigan, driving a 2018 Toyota 86. Chi Ho alongside from Orlando, Florida, in a 2014 BMW 320i. Michael Borden in third from Greenfield, Wisconsin. They picked to win by Sports Car Magazine, driving a Mazda MX-5. It's a Subaru BRZ for Nick Leveroni starting in fourth. Row 3, Steve Burtock from Lexington, South Carolina in a Mazda MX-5. Richard Mooney will start sixth from Dane, Wisconsin in a Mazda MX-5. It's a Mazda RX-8 for the starter on the inside of row number 4, Richard Dickey from Columbus, Indiana. Alongside him, James Eben from Appleton, Wisconsin, driving a Mazda MX-5. Starting ninth, Roldan de Guzman from Seattle, Washington in a 2013 Scion FRS. Identical car for Colin Kohler from Spanaway, Washington. He will start 10th. In the 11th starting position, Brent Simonson from Millersville, Maryland in a 2005 Mazda RX-8. Kevin Fryer starts 12th from Bloomington, Illinois in a Mazda MX-5. It's the Houston, Texas native Sergio Zlobin starting 13th in a Mazda RX-8. Another Mazda, this one a Mazda 3, from Derek Ambrose will start 14th. He hails from Brush Prairie, Washington. Starting 15th, Paulo Salvatore from San Antonio, Texas in a Ford Mustang V6. It's a BMW Z4 for Ralph Porter from Kokomo, Indiana. Starting 17th, Richard Grunewald from Hilliard, Ohio in a 2006 Ford Mustang V6. A 2005 Ford Mustang V6 will be piloted by Matthew Miller from the 18th starting position. He hails from Canal Fulton, Ohio. Michael Dalton starts 19th from Skokie, Illinois in the 2007 Pontiac Solstice. And in the 20th starting position, Stephen Christopher from Bonner Springs, Kansas in a Mazda MX-5. The field working hard to get temperature in those tires. Temperatures hovering just under 50 degrees here this morning. That is going to be critical. Cold tires, always a perilous proposition here in the National Championships. Let's take a look at some of our other award winners in the build-up to the Hagerty race days. Day 1 of qualifying was the Sunoco 260 Day 1 of qualifying, and Nick Leveroni won the Sunoco 260 award. That went to the driver who on day 1 set a qualifying time with the final 3 digits of that time closest to 260. Nick Leveroni winning 10 gallons of Sunoco race fuel for that accomplishment. Day 2 of qualifying was brought to you by Hawk Brakes, and the Hawk Breakthrough Performance Award went to the driver that improved the most from day 1 to day 2. And it was Stephen Christopher who earned that award. A set of Hawk brake pads went his way, improving from a 303.9 to a 257.2. Stephen Christopher, your Hawk Breakthrough Performance Award winner from day 2 of qualifying. Day 3 was Tire Rack Pole Day, and as mentioned, John Heinrichs starting on pole, your Tire Rack Pole Award winner. Coming around with the lights off on the pace car, we will be going green here very, very soon, Tom. What do you expect to see at the start?
Well, just one more point on the cool weather out here today. That BMW starting in second place, from my understanding, is a 2-liter turbo car. So the cool weather for that car actually would give it a little bit of an advantage the cooler it stays. On the second row, side by side, Nick Leveroni and Michael Borden, they work together in qualifying almost every day for almost every lap. So they are well rehearsed in the choreography of teamwork that is drafting and swapping positions with one another to work together. Now, they're not necessarily teammates. They both want to win, obviously, but the practicing of that choreography is key.
Well, qualifying was pretty tight. John Heinrichsey able to take the pole on pole day by about 0.3 of a second, but the top 4 were covered by less than a second in qualifying, and they all did it on different days by and large. It's a nice mix when you look at that result. So we should have a good battle on our hands as the field makes its way up the hill. 20 T4 cars about to do battle for the national championship. John Heinrichsey to the left of the screen, Chi Ho to the right. That's row number 1, Michael Borden, and Nick Leveroni, row number 2, and we are green already. Leveroni took a peek to the outside on the start, but it's Chi Ho who gets a great run at the green flag. He's got the advantage headed down to turn number 1. Heinrichsey, though, battling back on the inside in that Toyota 86.
That was a really slow pace set by Heinrichsey, which almost hurt him because it looked like the turbo of the BMW spooled up well. That is Mooney going for a ride on the exit of turn 1. But that BRZ actually has some straight line speed and was able to close the door on the way into the turn 1.
Bit of a gap there for Heinrichsey, making his way through turn 3. Side by side further back and a car around. That's James Eben from Appleton, Wisconsin. Goes off into the grass. Also taking evasive action, Colin Kohler. And both of them rejoined. Doesn't appear to be any significant damage on those 2 cars, but they lost a ton of ground.
No, I think that was also Richard Mooney that went along with that ride. Yes, he went straight to the concrete. I saw him snap left and exit the track, and heavy damage to that car exiting turn 3.
Now it's great to see Richard moving around inside that car because that took a big hit. You can see all of the damage to that car. I expect we might see a full course yellow before too much longer, much to John Heinrichsey's chagrin, because he's been able to build a big lead. And look at this, we've had a change for second place. And as the 186, Nick Leveroni able to move up and past the 42 of Michael Borden. Chi Ho has been shuffled back after that great initial start, running in the 4th spot.
Looks like the hood is popped on Michael Borden's car, which is, don't see it flapping necessarily, but that will raise the eyebrows of the race stewards if they see that and deem it to be dangerous. Ooh, a big ride in the background for the 36 car, 49 car.
Try and grab a number in just a moment as it comes through.
I think that was Steve Bertok, car number 90, going off on the carousel at the exit. Lap number 1, these drivers are pushing hard, but I suspect the rest of the field, once they see that wrecked car, will be praying for a yellow flag because John Heinrichsey is starting to march away with this one.
Doing what John Heinrichsey tends to do, 15 previous gold medals at the runoffs, and putting that experience to good use at the moment, able to lead the field to green with the pole position, and despite losing the lead temporarily, quickly took it back in turn number 1. For now, we remain green here on the track. Hopefully that remains the case.
We'll remain green flag racing, but it will be a local yellow down at turn 3. So anytime we're approaching that corner at this point in the race, you will not be able to make a pass. So at this time, I think the strategy has to be for Michael Borden and Nick Leveroni to start working together. They can't go side by side. They can't afford to lose any more ground to John Heinrichsey because Heinrichsey is starting to put in more and more fast laps.
Let's take a look at the start of this race once again. That's Heinrichsey battling back to take the lead, but let's keep an eye further back. I think it all started right here.
Yeah, Mooney lost the back end of the car going into turn 1 just a little bit, put him in the middle of this battle, deep on the brakes, and gets a little bit of a tap from the 36 car. 36 car goes for a spin, but there goes Mooney, exits stage left and hard into the concrete off camera, just to the left of your screen.
And that was a heavy, heavy hit, as you can see, but the good news, we see him moving around in that race car. That is what we always want to see after a heavy impact like that. This is 2nd, 3rd, and 4th on the racetrack at the moment. with Leveroni holding the second spot. Borden seeming relatively content to run right behind in the slipstream. This might be the teamwork you were talking about, Tom.
And he kind of has to be, because at this point, if they start to race each other, they're sealing the deal on racing for second place. Two cars racing each other cannot go as fast as one car lapping by itself. So even if Chi Ho starts to enter this battle, the three of them need to be able to indicate to each other at some point, either by body language of the car, by hand motions inside the car, that they want to work together and make sure that John Heinrichs doesn't run away with this one. Now, it's worth noting John Heinrichs and Nick Leveroni run first and second in cars that look very similar, but it's a 5-year newer car with a little bit different spec line for John Heinrichs. That car is, I believe, a little bit heavier, makes a little bit better power curve, and has a little bit shorter gearing as well, so it's going to make its speed slightly different than Nick Leveroni's car.
Happy to, oh, that looked like it was Heinrichs dropping a wheel at the exit of the King. Saw the dust kicked up there. I was going to say, happy to report for Chi Ho, he has accomplished his goal. Because remember, we heard from Hayward at the start, he had the issue at Indianapolis going back to 2017, where he was taken out effectively before he could even come around to start lap number 2. That was the goal here in 2020, and he has done it. Now it's time to put the head down and see if he can make up a little bit of ground, currently running in the 4th spot.
Call it a success. And that was a little bit of a look at Richard Dickey battling with Steve Burtock for the 5th position. They're a little further back on the track. The field streams through Canada Corner. There's the only front-wheel drive car in the field, Derek Ambrose in the Mazda 3.
And we see the number 70 car right there, Derek Ambrose. You were talking about it. This car has been nicknamed the Flying Fridge for its appearance, evidently. And it's been in development for some time. And they're pretty excited about the prospects here. Ambrose running in the 9th position at the moment.
Didn't have the easiest week. Had to replace the transmission from that car. Got one overnighted from Japan, aka Atlanta, actually. But he got that car back together and didn't have the smoothest week. 14th was his qualifying position. He's up 5 positions into the top 10. That's 9th place. And that front-wheel drive car may use its front tires a little bit better, a little bit more. It may be a little bit heavier, but it is good in a straight line, and that's what you want here at Road America. Somehow, Michael Borden's hood has closed itself, and he is now in full aerodynamic mode.
And it looks like these two working together, as you talked about, have been able to make up some ground to Heinrichs. The lead has crept down to 2.2 seconds. It was about a half a second larger on the last lap, and Borden running in that 3rd position in the slipstream just set the race's fastest lap the last time by.
Yeah, in this lap, so far the fastest car on the track is that BMW of Chi Ho, and he's on BFG tires, which are a little bit of a different compound than the Hoosier tires the rest of the cars in front of him are on. They've come up to temperature a little bit slower. They're known to drive a little bit differently, make grip very similar to the Hoosier tire, but a little bit different choice. Maybe that BMW will start to come back to him. John Heinrichs is pushing so hard, kicking dirt up, exiting a bunch of these fast corners. But these drivers right behind, Leveroni, Borden, and Chi Ho, are doing exactly what they need to do to run him down.
Dropping back now to look at the battle further back. Always fun to see these racers fighting for position no matter where it might be. Roldan de Guzman is at the tail of that train in the number 49 car. Here's a potential look for position coming into Canada Corner. The 71 car is Richard Dickey.
And this is for the top 5. Steve Burtock was able to get back around the RX-8 of Richard Dickey. Very similar chassis on those cars, but they're very different powertrains. The rotary in that RX-8, but known to be one of the faster cars in a straight line here in T4. I would suspect you're going to see Richard Dickey start to drag race up to the bumper of that MX-5 down this front straightaway.
Now let's keep an eye for that here as he heads up the hill, and you are spot on. You can see visually already making up some ground. Looks like this is a change in position. Chi Ho is able to make his way up into the 3rd spot. Michael Borden dropped back to 4th in this train. That's not the cooperation that you were talking about.
No, but they did a good job of making sure it didn't slow them down in a corner. If you can change positions on the straightaway, it really doesn't affect the speed of your pack very much. In fact, it helps everybody go a little bit faster, because if you're constantly drafting towards the front, as Chi Ho is going to do here, you'll see he's kind of calmly pops out, drives past the MX-5 and tucks right back in line. No harm, no foul there. If they start to do this side-by-side dance in the corners, that is when they are in trouble.
Chiho's last lap, aided, of course, by the slipstream, a 2:37.8. Compare that to Heinrichs running by himself, a 2:39.2. Heinrichs out by himself, turning in some very respectable lap times. It is quite telling that this pack of three, they've made some progress, but it hasn't been hand over fist.
No, and Heinrichs was qualifying by himself again, as we alluded to in qualifying, guys pushing so hard all the way out to the grass. But Heinrichs was well practiced at lapping alone. The drivers behind were the ones that were practicing working together, and it turns out that this is exactly what kind of practice they needed. Because at this point, that's the strategy. They have to become a fancy little team, or a impromptu little team, I should say, to bring this battle back up to the leader. Michael Borden looking a little racy on the back end of the BMW, gives him a little kiss on the exit, trying to bump draft him. And Michael Borden was raised in the world of Spec Miata and spec racing. He's not spec racing today, but he's acting like it.
In the article that featured him in Sports Car Magazine, he was talking about how, like for so many of us of this generation, Gran Turismo was what got his interest peaked in motorsports, and ended up doing some track days and really got into iRacing more recently. Has really been enjoying his racing as we look at the 33 car with some damage there. Sergio Zlobin from Houston, Texas.
Sergio's a great story, actually. Goes back with me a little bit because his first track event with the SCCA, if I remember correctly, his first track event ever was with an SCCA program called Track Night in America, which is an afternoon track day on weekdays. We do it about 30 tracks across the country. I'm fortunate to get to work them. But Sergio's first event with the SCCA was one of those Track Night in America days about 4 years ago, and now here he is wheel-to-wheel racing at the Runoffs. Very cool story.
Good look at Brent Simonson there in the silver car at the back of the shot. But to your point, I think people would be surprised at how easy it is actually to get on track. I think that is a barrier to participation in motorsports that is perceived, but maybe isn't there in reality. There are a lot of programs under the SCCA tent. Track Night in America is a great one. You have autocross, and all the way up to the racing level. As we see here, there are ways to get involved, and the SCCA has done a great job of shepherding drivers along. Those who maybe did cut their teeth just showing up at a Track Night in America now find themselves racing for a national title.
That's absolutely the goal. Track Night's motto is get out of the night what you want to put into it. And we don't really do any instruction. There's no curriculum. It's just come enjoy your car. Have fun with your car. And if you want to become a race car driver with that fun, absolutely, that's great. But we also have drivers who just do Track Night once a month when it comes through town.
Just a fantastic program. Here we go. This is for the 6th position. Dickey has it at the moment, trying to keep the number 49 of Roldan de Guzman from Seattle, Washington behind him.
Brakes on de Guzman's car glowing red hot in the early morning here at Road America, so he's pushing absolutely on the limit. Tried to have a look up the inside of Richard Dickey going down into turn 5, but the brakes on the RX-8 are superior, it would appear, and Guzman not able to complete that pass.
And he's got to be having a blast right now, fighting for possibly a top 5 if he can make this pass and then one more. And this is his runoffs debut. If you can get a top 5 in your first runoff start, that is something to be awfully proud of.
He's gone A-OK, especially starting 9th up a number of positions and battling for that top 5. That is a good day so far for de Guzman. Up at the front, Chiho is on a fast lap, but it was John Heinrichs who was able to extend his lead just a little bit, 0.3 of a second advantage to the leader.
Really remarkable what he's been able to do by himself, and it looks like Borden has fallen off of this train of cars. Leveroni and Chiho with a really solid pace, and there you have to wait that long for Michael Borden to come through the picture. He was running a very solid second not that long ago. Looks like that hood's popped back up again.
Yeah, it looks like he had a slow first sector this lap for some reason, and he's right on the edge of not being able to draft his impromptu teammates anymore. He's really on the ragged edge of that draft. I think he's probably officially out of the draft, to be honest, and that is bad news for that little MX-5, especially with the hood pop not doing him any favors.
Yeah, I was about to ask about that. That would increase the drag, and these cars aren't super powerful, so hard to overcome any increase in the drag running in traffic behind a car in the slipstream, that would have really been beneficial.
And it's also just a little bit of a distraction. I mean, if you're doing these laps, the first couple especially, at this point maybe he's been able to put it out of his head, but if you're taking the start of the race, you realize your hood's flapping on those first couple laps. Anything to rattle your attention away from the task at hand is not a good thing, especially at the runoffs.
Lavaroni a little bit quicker that last time by than Heinrichs. Got the gap down under 2 seconds. What's the magic number? How close do you need to be to start getting the aid of the tow from the car you're chasing?
Definitely within a second, if not closer. So these guys have about a halfway to go before they even start to get an advantage on Heinrichs. Chi-Ho's car looking like it's maybe starting to hit its limits of adhesion as he was really deep on the brakes, not quite able to get to the apex back in Canada corner half a lap ago. You saw just there again, really ragged coming off of turn 5. But that car is pretty good in a straight line, so if he can continue to work right behind Nick Lavaroni, they're going to be okay. The other thing to consider, though, turbo engine in that BMW, tucked up underneath somebody, the temperatures is a question.
We talked a lot about the experience of Heinrichs and all of his championships, but it should be mentioned that Lavaroni is our defending champion in this class, so he knows how to get it done. As we take a look at Ambrose once again in the flying fridge. They've got some bumper stickers, I guess, that you can get with that on it. Having a lot of fun. It's a fun-loving group. Derek does some work. You see the CS logo on the car. That's Cork Sport, and they've been developing a turnkey touring car racer for the TC America Championship. Joey Jordan was campaigning that this year, and they've been making huge strides over the course of the season, which just wrapped up at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway last week. And always love talking to Derek about their weekend because they are doing their development on that car in real time at the racetrack, and it's always an adventure, it seems like, and it's been really fun to see because they've had things break along the way, but every weekend they solve that problem and it's something different, which means they're making progress as a car goes around in turn 14. That is Chi-Ho. That is from the 3rd spot.
Oh, it goes for a big ride. So down outside the top 3 now, it's amazing. They had pulled out a huge lead, and he's still not even gotten passed by another car. There is the next car. And the question mark is that car healthy? It looks like he had a really weird tank slap. Yeah, drops a tire coming in, but that weird body roll coming into the corner. When he went to the brakes, the car kind of chucked him off to the left side, and he goes for quite a wild ride. Tries to get back in it right here and maybe keep it rolling, but goes around once again. And I think Chi-Ho may have a flat left rear tire or something not healthy on the left side of that car.
Clearly something amiss as he has not gotten back up to speed, and you can see him shaking the car back and forth, trying to feel it out.
Yeah, the left rear, oh yeah, look at it, rear steer. There's a left rear toe link or something is shifted in the rear end of that car, and he is active rear steer on the left rear, no good. Makes that car a big handful. I think we'll see him bring that thing to the pit lane.
That's too bad. Chi-Ho did a great job in qualifying on the outside of the front row, was running in that front pack, had some very fast race laps early on. This is music to the ears of this man, though, John Heinrichs, who saw the pack that was trying to chase him down broken up. First Borden dropping off the back of Lavaroni and Chi-Ho, and now Lavaroni's drafting partner, Chi-Ho with the suspension issue as we saw. This is Borden. About 3 seconds behind Lavaroni at this point, nearly 6 seconds behind the leader. Oh, and he has been pushing that car hard, and it just has not been there for him, has it?
No, you never give up in the runoffs, but the thing is slipping away slightly from, they become a nice little pack. Slowly got separated throughout the last couple of laps after Borden dropped off, and then that unfortunate mechanical failure for Chi-Ho. He made his goal, made it to lap 2, but only completes 6 laps yet.
You think next year the goal is 7 laps or the whole thing?
I sure hope so. Any of them. Keep coming back until you get it.
He's had some good runs in the past, finished 2nd several years back, but this year will not be his year. The native of Florida, finding Road America a difficult beast to tame.
That promotes this battle, though, up to the top 4 with Steve Bertok breaking away a little bit in his MX-5, the number 90 car from Panic Motorsports there, and then Richard Dickey and Roldan de Guzman, who had been battling for 6th and 7th, are now battling for 5th and 6th in the RX-8 and the FRS.
Bertok back this year after a 9th place finish last year at VIR. That was his first appearance at the Runoffs. And here is the Flying Fridge again, squirming around under brakes.
Brakes glowing, and this is actually a charge from the number 10 car. That's Colin Kohler. And Kohler was the car that was kind of collateral in the first lap incident. He went for just a harmless spin. I don't think there was any contact, but in dodging the other bits of contact that happened back in turn 3, he went for a spin and is now mounted a charge back up into the top 10. So he had dropped way back into last place at the bottom of the field. This is a really good run for the number 10 car.
It is indeed. Started in the 10th position, had the issue on the first lap, but has recovered quite nicely, running inside the top 10 as we are past the halfway mark in the T4 championship race at the SCCA National Championship Runoffs.
Today's broadcast of the SCCA Runoffs is brought to you by Mazda. Feel alive.
When the finish line calls, we answer. Hit the road with insurance protection from Haggerty. Whether you drive a built racer, sports car, or exotic, and save an average of $264. Get a quote today at Haggerty.com.
It's happening more often, and that's not surprising. People are getting lost to find themselves. And discovering the best part is often hidden in the journey along the way. The first ever CX-30. Performance that inspires with available iActive all-wheel drive.
John Heinrichs continues to lead as he has all race long here in T4, seeking his 16th SCCA Runoffs gold medal, but look at that. Leveroni with some smoke coming out of the back of that car, I think, just a moment ago. Let's see if that has persisted. Currently our second place car. Looks like it might have cleared itself up. I hope that's the case. But something did look troubling just a moment ago.
Yeah, perhaps a small haze from the back of that car. Looks healthy, though. Just really impressed with John Heinrichs' performance, and you maybe expect that from the driver behind the wheel when you have John Heinrichs behind the wheel, but he's just putting in faster and faster and faster laps, and you can just watch that car. Oh, for sure, there's definitely a little smoke out of the back of Leveroni's car, but when you're watching Heinrichs, he's just using every inch of the track. He's absolutely on the limit, putting in qualifying laps over and over again. It's not for not working in that car. He is trying very, very hard, and it's working very well.
Tom, I think there is something amiss because that last lap was a 240.5. That is well off the pace that he had been setting previously. Heinrichs, by comparison, just hit a 230.9. It's about a 1.5 seconds difference.
He's trying to listen to the audio in the microphone as the car passed through turn 1. I think I heard a little bit of a miss when he tried to go back to throttle. As you said, about 2 seconds slower that time through on the lap, and Michael Borden is getting a little bit bigger in his mirrors. Unfortunately for those two, if Leveroni's car is not healthy, they won't be able to work together very well to try to get back up to John Heinrichs. They're also running out of time as we're on lap 9 of 13.
We have an interesting moment at the exit of turn 14. That's the number 2 car, Paolo Salvatore, able to get the car back under control and back underway.
Not sure if that was solo or not, but he was battling with Rich Grunenwald in the 93 car. Nope, just gets away from him, turned in early, had a little too much speed, and goes agricultural. No harm, no foul.
There was some damage on the left front of that car as well, so he's been through it a little bit already today. And that corner is so crucial for lap time. You need to carry a lot of speed through there. I think that's why we've seen so many cars run wide at the exit.
And these Mustangs in T4 trim, they're V6 Mustangs, as you can obviously hear, don't sound quite right for a Mustang. They have to be pretty heavy and don't have a lot of tire under those cars, so Road America may just be a little too much for those heavy Mustangs. They come into their own at other tracks that the Runoffs travels to. This battle certainly hasn't gone anywhere between Richard Dickey and Roland de Guzman for 5th place.
These two might as well be chained together the way that they've been running. It's been about this close all race long. Dickey in the 5th spot, Roland de Guzman in 6th. Not much to separate these two. And there in the background, Kevin Fryer running in the 7th spot from Bloomington, Illinois. He's had a great view of this battle here for the last few laps.
And Fryer qualifying in the 12th position, so all the way up to 7th. That's another good charge for him. And Hayward joked on the pit lane that you could throw a license plate and go pick up some ice cream in one of these cars. There is a license plate on the back of most of these cars right there for Roldan de Guzman as well as Richard Dickey. So maybe they do a little joyriding in these race cars.
Can you blame him?
No, absolutely not. Dickey starting to pull away from de Guzman just a little bit. Flash of flames as he picks up the throttle at the middle of turn 14.
Gotta love the sound of that car.
See him weave, trying to break that draft just a little bit, and with the straight line speed of that Mazda, he's going to start to pull away, which is bad news for de Guzman because he needs the draft to stay in this battle for 5th.
And it looks like they might be making some progress in running down the car ahead of them. Steve Burtock up there. Comparing lap times, actually pretty close this last time. The gap stayed similar, but the target is up there, that's for sure. Happy to report that Leveroni still running quite well, and actually it was Heinrichs who had a slow lap that last time around, a 2:41.1. Not sure what happened.
My question is, well, there's two options for me here. There's either I can lift because I'm leading, or the car didn't sound like it was in the correct gear leaving turn 5. And this car has had some reliability issues over its Runoffs career. And I question whether or not maybe Heinrichs is down a gear or just taking it a little bit easy, knowing that he's got 3 laps left until a gold medal.
Well, for Heinrichs, we talked about the 15 gold medals, but he's had 24 total podiums in 34 runoff starts over 32 years. So that is, in all but 10 of his 34 starts, he has brought a medal home. What do you do with all of those medals?
If I ever get them, I'll let you know.
But it has been a little while for him, though, since he's won one of these in 2018 at Sonoma. So the hunger is certainly there, and you can see he's still pushing awfully hard, using all of that curbing at the exit of the kink. And here comes Borden back on a charge.
And looking at the sector times this time through, Heinrichs is off pace once again. They're losing almost a second per sector this lap for Heinrichs to Leveroni and Borden. And if these two can pair up now, they're absolutely within striking distance. Something with Heinrichs' car is not healthy. Yeah, look at that. So we're looking at trap speeds now, and he's slow in a straight line. This is coming back to Leveroni and Borden. Unbelievable.
Borden looked like he might have been out of the mix. He lost this lead draft, had dropped way, way back, but it seems that both of the cars he is chasing are dealing with some form of malady. Heinrichs clearly does not have the horsepower that he displayed early in this race. Leveroni and Borden are there. Here comes Borden to the outside. Heinrichs, a sitting duck down the front straightaway.
Straight line speed in the 35 car is just not there, and now we have a 3-car battle for the lead after this one fizzled for so much. But we mentioned in the intro the number of shapes these races take. They've been changing lap after lap for the entire Runoffs weekend, and this one is no exception. As Heinrichs looks quick in the corners, but there's something about that car in the straight line, it's just down, and I bet we're going to see Leveroni and Borden poke out and try to get around him this time down into turn 5.
Leveroni had the fastest trap speed of this bunch the last time, and that was through this section of the track. He's able to put the pedal to the metal and cruise by. Here we go, 3 wide into turn number 5. You hear the crowd cheer, and it's the cover boy, Borden, to the lead.
Heinrichs is able to fend off Leveroni. He's separated the impromptu teammates, and now Borden's got to tack her up and get away, as he has distracted Leveroni with the nuisance of John Heinrichs in between the two of them.
Borden saw his opportunity in the middle of those two cars, makes the bold move, and makes it stick now, trying to steal a march on the 15-time champion and the defending champion in this class.
2.5 laps to go, and Michael Borden, sports car picked to win, claims the lead down into turn 5. Mechanical issues ailing the 35 car of John Heinrichs. Nick Leveroni is still stuck behind that wounded 35 car. Every moment he's stuck behind that car right there, the MX-5 of Michael Borden pulls away a little bit more.
And Borden just getting stronger and stronger as the race has gone along. The last lap of personal best, 2:37.9. He was very fast through the trap speeds as well. on this previous run into turn 5. And while the 2 cars behind him seem to be ailing somewhat, that little Mazda Miata just keeps on ticking.
This time through, Heinrich's pace looks okay. Oh, makes a mistake there, and I think maybe the transmission is finally gone out of that car. He was losing what sounded like top gear, and now finally gets it back into a gear. I think John Heinrich must be struggling with the gearbox in that car.
Well, the focus for Heinrich now has gone from trying to win this to getting on the podium, and he does have a nice buffer. The last time by, Steve Bertok in 4th was about 20 seconds behind the battle for the lead. Just 2 laps remaining when they come by the line this time. So if he can keep it running, there's a good chance, thanks to the strong effort he put in early on, Heinrich still can get on the podium. But it has to be gut-wrenching to watch the battle for the lead disappear out the windshield.
Escaped from him last year at VIR with a mechanical issue, and once again, the Phoenix Performance number 35 T4 car suffers some issues in its championship race. It's falling back quickly from this lead battle now. Michael Borden has just enough gap in front of Nick Leveroni to make sure that Leveroni has no draft, and it's just 2 laps of qualifying left to make sure that he secures that gold medal.
This battle seems to have settled down just a little bit, but this is the group that is trying to catch Heinrich for the final step on the podium. And if they've got radios, I'm sure their crews are telling these drivers Heinrich is vulnerable. He's up the road about 17 seconds. Keep pushing. You can get there.
Last time through, he was only 4 seconds slower than Steve Bertok, so it's a tall order, but not undoable. Bertok in that blue or dark blue MX-5 coming at us in 4th place. Behind, Richard Dickey is still maintained a little bit of a gap over Roldan de Guzman. And then again, Kevin Fryer having a great race up to 7th now from 12th.
Bertok finished 9th in his only previous runoffs appearance. That was last year. Looks set to improve on that quite a bit if things stay the way they are. And these two have been so close this whole race. Seems like de Guzman a little bit stronger here in the center portion of the track, sector 2. We get on the straightaways, and that Mazda rotary shows its strength.
We've also seen a few mistakes out of de Guzman. Every time he gets close to Dickey, and Richard Dickey's just been kind of the epitome of consistency, lapping lap after lap the same. As we saw Guzman take a little bit of a slide exiting turn 6, we've seen that a few times before this race as well. Every time he gets close, he lets it slip away again.
De Guzman making his first start, as we talked about, one of the 100-plus runoffs rookies in our field of nearly 600 entries here at the runoffs this year. Dropping back a little bit further. Another fight on our hands. James Eben, Colin Kohler right now fighting for the 8th position. Kohler, again, just to remind you, or in case you weren't with us at the start, had to take evasive action and lost a lot of ground on the first lap, but has done a great job to recover. Here comes Michael Borden, just took the white flag. Leveroni still hot on his heels, though. The gap only 1 second. Leveroni seems to have found the pace once again, and actually was the faster of the two that time by
nearly a second, and that is a big deal. Remember, we talked about 1 second is the draft distance. Tight racing just outside the top 10 here, but 1 second or so is the drafting distance. Leveroni's gap, 1.05.
And I think I saw some lap traffic up ahead that they appeared set to catch on this lap. You see the Pontiac Solstice just up ahead right there. That's Michael Dalton running up the road. And then they've got some company as well. So not what Borden wants to see, but I'm sure Leveroni is licking his chops.
No, and he absolutely wants them to know, get the heck out of my way. The headlights flashing coming down into turn 5, and he's up underneath the back end of that Solstice, so it makes the pass easy. Thanks them with a little wave and sweeps into turn 6. One more car to get around. That is that is Stephen Christopher. Hopefully Christopher can make it as easy as well. Does so.
Yeah, I do think that Leveroni caught that traffic at an inopportune time. There was really not much Dalton could do. He was already at the apex of turn 6 when Leveroni got there, and that forced Nick to go the long way around. I think it cost him quite a bit of time. Still, though, in striking distance, if there is a mistake, remember Borden is in his first runoff start.
And that mistake almost just happened. We've seen him go agricultural exiting turn 8 and just had a big slide coming off there. Not a lot of power in the MX-5, but 13 laps into this race, those tires are hot, and he is absolutely on the limit. Knows the consequences of these last couple of corners, needs to get them just right.
Michael Borden looking for a perfect season. He would get the super sweep as well if he were able to hold on for this win. Nick Leveroni giving chase, filling up the mirrors, doing everything he can just behind from 4th on the grid in that Subaru BRZ. These two shared row number 2 at the start of the race. They've been running at the front much of it behind John Heinrichs until he hit troubles. It looks like he is still set for a podium unless something goes terribly awry here in the last half of this lap. But for the final time through turn 14, Borden dropping a wheel, puts the pedal to the metal, climbing the hill. The Sports Car Magazine cover boy trying to keep the perfect season alive. On debut, Michael Borden is a Runoffs national champion. Nick Leveroni will come across the line just a half a second behind. Did everything he could, and it does look like Heinrichs was able to make it across the stripe, finishing in the final podium spot. A little bit of heartbreak there. This is a battle to the checkered flag further back for 4th, 5th, 6th. 4th goes to Bertok. Dickey able to hold on to 5th. De Guzman in 6th in his first Runoffs appearance.
Both of these cars were actually involved in that first lap incident, both rallying up into the top 10, but the advantage to the 10 car of Kevin Kohler flashes the lights in celebration of a top 10 after a disastrous start. And James Evan also getting up there all the way up to 9th after a spin on that first lap.
Great recovery from Colin Kohler. James Evan as well, 8th and 9th, as you said, after it looked like the race could even be over if things went slightly different there on the first lap. A couple of Mustangs here battling it out. Salvatore is able to make the pass. We saw him go flying off here in turn 14 just a few laps ago, but he's been able to work his way around Richard Grunwald. This is for 14th and 15th. Congratulations, gentlemen. You finished at the Runoffs. No small accomplishment, to say the least. So much work goes into it. It is a long week of preparation. There are plenty of chances for things to go wrong, and making it across the finish line, taking that checkered flag, means so much to so many. Matthew Miller there has finished, but this is the man of the hour, Michael Borden. Perfect on the season. This is absolutely amazing. Undefeated in Majors Tour and Super Tour competition. Now he adds the Runoffs to the mix. He gets the super sweep, all in his first Runoffs start.
Pretty incredible, and Sports Car Magazine might have picked him to win, but there's no way they could have predicted how, especially how that one unfolded. There were times that we thought Michael Borden was out of this one, and he just kept on keeping on. As we mentioned in the middle of the race, you never give up in racing, and it's a good thing he didn't, even with the little hood pop.
Well, like so many of the members of the club, racing is not his profession. He is a software developer by trade. First time on track right here at Road America, 2007 in an autocross event. Look at him now, just 13 years later, he is a national champion. Come a long way from playing Gran Turismo at his parents' house as a kid growing up.
And that's part of what we talked about, whether it's Track Night in America, whether it's an autocross, whether it's SCCA's new esports. Any way to get started 13 years later or more or less, you could be Michael Borden pulling into victory lane, getting a huge cheer. Local boy does good.
From Greenfield, Wisconsin, so definitely local. Ran 3 years in Spec Miata, 2017, 2018, 2019. This is the first year in the T4 class. And you look at this podium, these are 3 guys that have been racing together all throughout the year. Leveroni, Heinrichs, and Borden. That was something that Michael talked about coming in that gave him some confidence. He has been running with this group and knows how good they are, how accomplished they are. Leveroni, the defending champion. Heinrichs, a 15-time gold medalist at the runoffs. So that experience going wheel to wheel with champions was a big boost for him coming into his first runoffs, for sure.
Yeah, it means that much more when you're racing with such big names, but also if you've been racing with these drivers and you learn to trust them, it's not only enjoying the racing, but it's enjoying who you're racing with. And I think they all enjoyed that one, but Borden probably more than the other two.
Well, let's hear from our debutante champion, Michael Borden.
Michael, I have so many questions for you, but let's just start with, was there a point in time in that race where you had resigned yourself to a podium was going to be a strong finish, or did you keep your eyes on the front the whole time?
Absolutely not. To be honest, with a half a lap maybe, but I was like, anything can happen. It's a runoffs. I know we're probably all getting everything we can out of our engines. You never know what's going to happen. So, yeah, I had a pretty big gap. Chiho spun in 14. I avoided that and decided, okay, I got a podium. That's one. You never know what's going to happen, especially if Leveroni would have caught Heinrichs and they started racing. I was still in it for sure then. And I don't know, like halfway through the race roughly, all of a sudden a bunch of smoke started coming out of Nick's diff, and he was running slower, so I caught up to him, got back in his draft. We slowly caught up to Heinrichs, who I'm assuming had some sort of problem also. I made a pass down the straight, both of them into 5, and that was basically, I just started driving away. Nick reeled me back in a little bit, but it was a really good race. Those guys are good, clean racers, and that was a lot of fun.
So let me walk you through a couple of things. The cover of Sports Car, picked to win, a rookie at the runoffs. We're watching the coverage. We're seeing you coming up on slower cars, headlights flashing, points out the windows. What's the energy? What are you feeling, tension releasing, building through this race?
It was kind of a roller coaster. I mean, at first I had a really good feeling. Then, like I said, they drove away. Then I thought I had it. Yeah, and then I saw the lap traffic, and I'm like, oh, boy, who knows? Like, if they see me or not, that's why I turned on my lights and was just like, I needed to know they were coming. I wasn't going to risk losing it because of some lap traffic, especially I've been really good in lap traffic. Honestly, Nick might have beat me at the sprints on Saturday if it wasn't for a pass on the outside of the carousel on the last lap that race. So I had a feeling it might come into play again, and luckily it worked in my favor again today.
Well, congratulations. You get to take a victory lap 13 years later than your first time on this track. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Love the energy. Great to see a first-time champion as well, and to win on debut. Just a remarkable accomplishment for Michael Borden. By about a half a second over Nick Leveroni, John Heinrichs limps his car home after trouble struck, dominated the first half of the race. He ends up in third. Steve Burtock and Richard Dickey completing the top 5. Roldan de Guzman, a good debut for him as well. Finishes in 6th. Kevin Fryer, Colin Kohler, and James Eben, good recoveries there. Derek Ambrose brings the Flying Fridge home with a top 10 finish as well. Let's get back down to Hayward. We've got 2nd and 3rd place standing by.
Nick, it's not the medal that you most wanted, but there had to be a bit of deja vu for you today with seeing the Black Phoenix car come to you late in the race.
Yeah, it was great. I just wish I didn't have that MX-5 on my bumper when it happened. But he ran a great race. He fell back. I think the BMW slowed him up just a little bit, and he did a great job to get back to our bumpers, and he had more than we had at the end. He ran a great race. You got to give it to him. He made a move when he needed to. He knew he needed to get by on that lap, I think, and he knew he could pull away. I think if I was out in front, it would have been tough for him, but it was a crazy race.
Well, Nick, it says a lot about you as a defending champion in this class to come to the silver medal interview and talk about the guy who won. Congratulations to you and everyone at Flat Out Motorsports. I know silver is often the more bitter place on the podium, but it's still a podium for you. Congratulations.
No doubt. Thank you.
And we're going to go ahead and bring up John.
Check out their website at allianceautosports.com and let Timo or Scott Redditch know that you're ready to
John, we're going to have you stand right here on the tee.
Right on the very spot.
On the spot. It looked like you had this one in the bag. What happened?
Well, right on just when I started to slow down, I was having some trouble with the clutch on the car, similar to last year, and I was able to deal with it a little better than I did last year, but still it bit me.
Well, congratulations to you on building enough margin to be able to hold on to that bronze. Another podium for you. I don't have the exact number, but certainly in the SCCA record books, another podium for John Heinrichs. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it was great. The crew and everybody was awesome, so good job, guys. All right. Where now?
And Hayward, the number is 25 now. 25 podiums for John Heinrichs in his career. Would have been great to see him able to run at full strength all the way. Sad to hear that it was a clutch problem that sidelined him, but still a remarkable achievement. You can see the pace in the car here at the start. Chi-Ho actually with a really good start to the race got to the flank of Heinrichs, but Heinrichs deep on the brakes, able to take the lead. Then a little bit of chaos ensued as we had cars 3 wide entering into turn 3. Unfortunately, this was the end of the day for one of our competitors.
There is that harmless spin that the number 10 car had, but unfortunately a heavy incident for the 39 car. And then this one, when the rear toe link of Chi-Ho's car let loose, active rear steer, and he goes for a big ride, realizes with a mechanical failure, but this was the popular pass. The crowd cheered as Michael Borden comes up the inside, through the middle, around John Heinrichs, and around Nick Lavaroni to take what will become a gold medal place.
That was the move that sealed the win for Michael Borden on debut, able to get between a couple of champions there, Heinrichs and Lavaroni. Lavaroni sneaking by Heinrichs as the clutch continues to struggle. And here we go, hand out the window. Michael Borden picking up his first SCCA Runoffs National Championship. Heinrichs crosses the line with an A-Link car, able to limp it home in medal position. A remarkable race and a remarkable story. Michael Borden, 13 years after first coming to this racetrack, finds himself a national champion in T4.